Chapter 3.2, Solving Linear Systems Algebraically. From this lesson, you should learn how to solve linear systems using algebra. The first method I'm going to teach you is substitution, and substitution is exactly what it sounds like. You are going to substitute what one variable equals in for the other variable, for itself. So what we need to do if we're going to use substitution is we need to figure out what one of the variables equals. What you want to find is a variable that does not have a coefficient, like this y right here. So we're going to solve for that y by subtracting 2x, and we get y equals negative 2x plus 10. Now we're going to take what y equals and we're going to substitute it in for itself in the other equation. So that's going to turn into 3x plus 4, and instead of y, we're going to put negative 2x plus 10, and that equals 12. And we're going to solve that equation in blue. So we're going to distribute the 4, and we get 3x minus 8x plus 40 equals 12. You have like terms there to combine. So that becomes negative 5x plus 40 equals 12. Subtract 40 from both sides. So negative 5x equals negative 28. Divide both sides by negative 5. And we get 5.6. Now that we know what x equals, we're going to take it and we're going to substitute it in for x. And you can put it in either equation and then just solve for y, but it's probably going to be easier if you put it in that second equation. Whatever you do, always make sure you put it in an original equation. So that's going to be 2 times 5.6 plus y equals 10. And 2 times 5.6 is going to be 11.2 plus y equals 10, and then subtract the 11.2, and that gives you negative 1.2. So my solution to this is going to be 5.6 for x and negative 1.2 for y. Meaning if I had graphed these two lines on a graph, they would have crossed at the point 5.6 and negative 1.2. Okay, you can pause this on your own here and try to do it yourself, but I'm going to do it with you so that I see that the x has no coefficient there. So I'm going to want to solve for x. I'm going to subtract 3y from both sides, and that gives me x equals 5 minus 3y. I'm now going to take what x equals and plug it in for the x in the other equation. So I'll have negative 2 times, instead of x, we're going to put 5 minus 3y. And then the rest of the equation is just the same as it was. Distribute the negative 2 and you get negative 10 plus 6y minus 4y equals negative 5. Combine like terms, so we get negative 10 plus 2y equals negative 5. We'll add 10 to both sides. 2y equals 5, so that means that y is going to be 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5. So I know for my answer, my y coordinate is going to be 2.5. Now I just have to find my x coordinate. So I take what y is, and I'm going to plug it in to find the x. In this case, it's going to be easier to plug it into the top because the x has no coefficient. So instead of x plus 3y, we're going to do x plus 3 times 2.5 because y equals 2.5. 3 times 2.5 is 7.5, so that's going to be x plus 7.5 equals 5. Subtract 7.5 from both sides and you get negative 2.5. So your answer is negative 2.5 and 2.5. Example 3, we skipped example 2. We're going to go straight into elimination, and that's where you eliminate one of the variables. And how you do that is you find opposites. So do you see how 4x and negative 4x are opposites? So if you add those two equations together, they will cancel, and you get 5y equals 25. And then it's easy breezy. You solve for y. So you get y equals 5. And now you just do the same thing you did before. If y is 5, plug it in to find x. So we're going to just plug it into the top, and we get 4x plus 2 times 5 equals 9. So we'll subtract 10 from both sides, and we get 4x equals negative 1. Divide both sides by 4, so x is 1/4. Negative 1/4. So my point's going to be negative 1/4 and positive 5. This is a good point for you to pause the video and try this on your own, but I'm going to go ahead and solve it. So I see two opposites, negative 8y and positive 8y. So if I add the two equations together, I get 3x equals 12. So x must be 4. Now that I have the x, I'm just going to take it and plug it into either equation, but I'm just going to do the top. So it's going to be 5 times 4 minus 8y equals 20. Well, that's 20 minus 8y equals 20. Subtract 20 from both sides, and you're actually going to get negative 8y equals 0. So y must be 0 for your answer. So 4, 0. Example 4, they don't tell you how to solve it. What I would do here is try to make them opposites and eliminate. So I have positive 2 and positive 3. If I make them both 6, so if I multiply the top one by 3 and the bottom one by 2, then the x terms will be 6. And now let's make one of them negative so that they'll cancel out. So at top, I'm going to get negative 6x minus 21y equals negative 12. And on bottom, I get 6x plus 10y equals negative 10. Combine the two equations and you get negative 11y equals negative 22. Divide both sides by negative 11. So you get y equals positive 2. So my point's going to be something and then positive 2. To find the x, you got to plug in the y. So I'm going to go back to my original equation, and I'll do the bottom one this time. 3x plus 5 times 2 equals negative 5. It doesn't matter if you plug into the top or the bottom, you should still get the same numbers. 5 times 2 is 10. Solve for x, so we're going to subtract 10 from both sides. And we get 3x equals negative 15, which means x must be negative 5. So my answer is negative 5, positive 2. Again, this is a good spot for you to pause the video and try this on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and solve it. I want to create opposites. So let's do the 7 and the 2. If I make those 14, I can have opposites. So I'm actually going to multiply the top equation by 2 and the bottom one by 7. And we have to make one of them negative, so I'll make the top negative. And that becomes negative 6x minus 14y equals negative 30. And the bottom one's going to be 35 plus 14y equals negative 28. And I get 29x equals negative 58. If I divide both sides by 29, then x is negative 2. Once you have x or y, the other one's easy. You just take what you've got and you plug it back into one of the equations. So this, I'll just do the bottom one. It doesn't matter. So it's going to be 5 times negative 2 plus 2y equals negative 4. And that's negative 10 plus 2y equals negative 4. Add 10 to both sides, so 2y equals 6. Divide both sides by 2, and you get y equals 3. So negative 2, 3 is your answer. Example 5. Sometimes you have these things called unique solutions. That's when it is either no solution or infinitely many. So if you will look at that first equation, we have opposites here and then a different set of opposites here. If we add those two together, we're actually going to have two variables cancel and we get 0 equals 0, because -5 plus 5 also equals 0. So if I get something that's always true, what I want you to write is all real numbers. You can do the R for all real numbers. If on the second one these cancel but the 6's don't, and you get 0 equals 16, that's never true. If that's what you get, then I want you to write no solution, because if it's never true, there's no possible number that can satisfy it. Okay, this is a good spot to try this on your own, but I'm going to go ahead and solve it. If you will look, you can multiply the top one. I don't have any opposites, but I can multiply the top one by 2 and actually get, I'm going to write it down here, negative 2x plus 2y equals -4. And that cancels and I get 0 equals -4, which is never true, so it's no solution. Alright, B, I don't have any opposites, but I can multiply the top by 3 and make that 12x, and I have to make it -3 to make it -12. Then I'm going to write it beneath, so I get -12x minus 3y equals -18. Those cancel and you get 0 equals 0. That's always true, so I'm going to put all real numbers. Your turn to prove what you know. Solve the systems 1 and 2. Show every step of your work. Bring it to me tomorrow to prove that you did your homework. If you don't show your work, I'm throwing it away. If it looks rushed or like you were hurrying to copy it before the tardy bell rang, I'm going to throw it away.